Welcome to the Win, Make, Give Wealth Series. This is Ben Kinney. We're joined with Bob Stewart.
Hi, Ben.
And Chad Himes.
Ben.
Today, we are jumping into the part of the Wealth Series where we learn more about income and find ways to increase our income.
Sounds like a great episode to me.
Yeah, this is one of my faves. Let's do it.
Already in the reality check section, Chad,
Yep.
we talked about income in what ways?
We talked about the income that we currently have,
Right.
our annual or monthly income, however we looked at it.
And how that was related to what?
Our expenses.
Our expenses. And we were hoping that when you calculated the delta, which Chad
The
is
difference, for
careful to
those of
point
us
out.
not using cool math terms.
the difference, that there was a positive amount.
Yes, we wish upon every audience member out there a positive amount there.
But
Doesn't mean there will be.
all three of us have been in situations where our expenses were greater than our income.
Absolutely.
And we used credit cards, second mortgages, line of credits, parents, friends, sold drugs on the street,
No, we didn't.
hustled in dice games,
That we might have done.
smuggled drugs,
We did not do that.
printed counterfeit money.
We did not
Just
do
once,
that.
just once. Also, you have a
can't prove that
reputation
one.
now.
I'll leave that.
No, we found ways to survive. And we understand that our audience also is sitting there taking the wealth series because they want to improve their wealth, whether they are negative every month, break even, or positive. We truly understand here that we are coming into economic hard times. And one of the quotes in the original Wealth series that has stayed true all the way into today is very simple. You can't save your way out of a recession because we can only cut so much expenses, Bob. You must increase your income. You must earn your way out of a recession, so to speak. So if I could just clean up that entire line, it's you can't save your way out of a recession. You can't expense cut your way out of a recession. You must actually increase your income or earn your way out of it. In this episode, in this part of the Wealth series, we're going to dive in to not what do we have today, but first we're going to dive into the different types of income. So make sure that you go to winmakegive.com/wealth and download the workbook for this particular section. And you're going to fill out the three types of income. Type number one. What do we call that, Chad?
It should be a drum roll or something. I always think we need that for it, right? Type number one, Ben, would be normal income.
Normal income is what the vast majority of us earn. It's what we earn from doing our job every day, Bob. It's money earned in the present. It's exchanging time for money.
Okay.
It's taxed at the highest possible rate. In fact, you would call it the normal income tax rate. And that normal income gets taxed at rates of 25%, 30%, 35%, as high as 39%, not including your state income tax, depending on where you choose to hang your hat. It also creates the lowest hourly rate. If we were to write something down as like an affirmation, or maybe you want to run out today and get a little tattoo
Okay.
from the Wealth series.
Okay. We'll send you the Well Series logo to go with it.
That'd be sweet.
Okay.
You would get a tattoo that says, "I care about my hourly rate."
I don't know how long it's been that Ben has actually been saying that to all of us. Years?
There's a couple Wealth Series tattoos or like Ben Kinney inspired tattoos out there. I've actually seen them.
Yeah, I mean, but that statement alone.
Yeah.
Years now? I mean, at least 5, 6 years I've heard Ben saying that.
Normal income is what the vast majority of us earn for doing our job. Once again, it's money earned from doing work in the present. It's taxed at the highest possible rate, and it creates the lowest hourly rate because we're literally exchanging time for money.
Okay, that makes sense.
There is a second type of income, Bob, which we call
Investment income.
investment income is earned by what?
Selling assets that you've accumulated.
For instance, if you were to buy a stock for a $10
Yep.
and you sold it for 20,
Yay.
the difference between 10 and 20 would be called
Investment income.
investment income.
So if you sold your posters that you have already talked about, that would be investment income. The challenge with it, as you said earlier in the series, was you become emotionally attached to some of these assets and never sell them.
Now, I want to make a clarification on what makes investment income.
Okay.
It's really dependent on how long you've held it. So if I bought a stock today and it went up $10 today and I sold it and I made that $10 for every share that I sold, that would actually be normal income. But investment income is created when you sell an asset that you've held for a longer period of time, traditionally over a year.
Yeah. Because otherwise, that stock you bought today and sell tomorrow, you end up paying the same income tax on that as you would if you just had normally earned that $20 or that $10 increase.
You pay normal income tax.
Normal income, yeah.
But when you make investment income and you've held it for a long enough period of time, you actually pay a different type of tax, which is called capital gains. And capital gains is going to be much closer to 15, 20, or 25%, which means you're going to keep nearly double the amount of money because you aren't giving up 40%, 30% of your income.
Right.
You keep more.
Okay. And you're saying it's going to be probably at least a year.
True.
Okay. What else sets aside this investment income, Ben?
Well, what's hard about it is that it's realized only once. Meaning, if we bought a house and we sold it for a profit more than what we paid for it, we would earn investment income.
Yep.
But could we sell it again?
No.
Not legally.
No, because we don't own it anymore.
Right.
If you bought a stock and you sold it, do you still own it?
No.
No, you have changed that stock for cash.
Right.
Or that house for cash or whatever.
Okay, so you can only realize it once. Whereas in the normal income, I can go to work again and again. I can keep realizing that income because you're going to give me the paycheck every 2 weeks or whatever it is. Okay.
So one of the ways that the wealthy change their wealth is by finding ways to make investment income instead of normal income.
Got it.
By selling assets over time that they've held for a long period of time. And then they traditionally move those assets into other assets immediately, which potentially defers all taxes. Now, there is a third type of income, Chad.
Yes, very exciting, Ben. This is passive income.
Passive income should be called passive income because, in my definition, it is earned from work you did in the past. Meaning you don't have to work a whole lot today to make that money come in.
Okay. That's fair.
Often, it's still taxed as normal income, but it dramatically changes your hourly rate. Let me give you a couple examples. Let's say that we spent 100 hours last year remodeling a house that we're going to rent out. And that house we rent out brought us in $10,000 last year. But we keep it this year.
Okay.
But we haven't done an extra 100 hours this year, but we still got the same $10,000.
Yep.
So every year our hourly rate gets better because it's the 100 hours we spent 2 years
Year
ago,
one. Yep.
3 years ago, 4 years ago, now being divided by the new amount of money we received.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it makes sense. I love the definition that you're saying that passive, everybody always thinks about passive meaning I don't do anything. It's not really that we don't do anything. It's we did something in the past. So you're right. Instead of it just being passive income, it should be that passive income because we do have to work to earn it.
We should trademark passive income.
Somebody get on that. Who's in the legal department around here?
Well, another passive income
Yep.
would be if we bought a stock last year that pays a dividend this year. Because we did the work of buying the stock last year,
Yep.
but it continues to pay a dividend going forward.
And you've probably done nothing this year on it. So the hour you put into it last year now is 0 hours this year, yet you received that income.
Yeah.
Got it.
If we loaned somebody money, we're going to give Bob a loan for $500 to buy a new pair of Michael Jordans.
All right. Has our audience caught on yet that Ben keeps mentioning? It's not the Jordans.
Well,
Ben keeps mentioning these loans he's got out there right now.
it's not that Bob needs the money to buy Jordans. It's Bob doesn't want his wife to see the money
Correct.
that he
Yeah, no,
spent
that I get.
buying the Jordans. So that's why he gets it,
Sure.
No, if we loaned out money last year
Yep.
and we were to get an interest on that going forward, that interest is really passive income.
Okay.
If we invested in Bob's new business that he's launching,
Yep.
and we made the investment up front, but we don't actually work in that business, but he paid out profits annually, that's passive income for us.
Right.
I think of one of your first, Ben, like big, I don't know, you built something called IMSD. Some people listening here probably were a part of that. And that was a bunch of work that you guys put in. And then that became a course that you then sold, right? So it was like all this work you'd done that was digitized and put in a format that people wanted to consume. And that ended up becoming passive income. And eventually, I would say, became investment income for you as you.
Yeah, it was normal
sold.
income for me. I had to keep going to work on it again and again and again.
Yeah.
Let's be real clear. It was all three. I only received one of those. Ben managed to figure out the other two.
So what
That's
I
why
want
he's
you to
teaching this one.
That's right.
what I want you to think about in today's lesson is, do I have only normal income? Or do I have any examples of investment income that happen regularly? And do I have any passive income that could support me in a time of the future when I make no normal income? Like when we retire,
Right.
or we get sick, or we take a year off.
One of the greatest, right? Can we agree that Warren Buffett, when it comes to this stuff, is one of the greatest, right? And Mr. Buffett said, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die.
So good.
Right. And that's that passive income that you're talking about. It's finding a way to make money while you sleep because we have done the work that then returns us money that takes away those hours. Otherwise, you're going to have to work until you die.
Speaking of Monsieur Buffett,
Yes.
he also said somebody's sitting in the shade today because somebody planted a tree a long time ago.
Okay, so Ben, you've shown us the 3 forms of income that are out there as we're talking about income. What else do we need to know about income before we can dive into kind of the best ways to maybe increase our income?
Well, we need to understand, where does our income currently come from right now?
Okay.
So in your workbook, you're going to write down how much income comes from job income, which you already did in the
Reality check.
exactly.
Right.
Right. You already wrote that down.
Yep.
So you should have your job income, your passive income there.
Okay.
But you might want to check and see, do you sell anything on a regular basis
Okay.
to create investment income?
Right.
Many people who have expenses greater than their income, they live off savings.
Yes.
So you also might calculate how much of your savings are you using on a monthly or annual basis to live your lifestyle, especially if you're closer to retirement and you're living on more of a fixed income.
Yep.
You're withdrawing money from savings to live. But the real exercise today is, I want you to ask yourself, how much income do you need to continue living your lifestyle? Not just today. We did that in the reality check.
We did the expenses that we had to have, and then we did the optional, which kind of became our lifestyle in there, right?
Yeah. But I want you to calculate what is the future income that you're going to need. And you might do it at retirement.
Okay.
Or you might do it in 5 years in the future.
How do I know how much I'm going to need, Ben? I mean,
I think you're going to ask yourself, how much do you want to live on
there you go.
when you retire?
Okay.
And then you're going to ask yourself, where is that income going to come from? And how long is it going to last me? When we work on the retirement section of the Win, Make, Give Wealth series,
Part 2,
we are going to help you calculate exactly where to get that money from for retirement.
Okay.
So I'm very excited about that.
Yes.
So now we have an understanding of the 3 different types of income.
Got it.
We've taken some time to work through the workbook to see where is our income coming from.
Yep.
Now we're going to say we don't have enough income to pay down our debt or make our investments, buy more assets, all the things we've been learning. So we need to do what?
Increase it.
Increase it. Increase it.
Okay. So Ben, Will Rogers, quoted him in another episode of the Wealth series, but Will Rogers says, the income tax has made more liars out of more Americans than golf. I think you added when I told you this quote, and fishing.
And fishing.
Right. A lot of liars happening out there when it comes to it. And women will lie about their age. Men lie about their income.
Let's not be too sexist.
It's a quote of William Feather. He was an author.
I've lied about both. And my weight and my height, all on the same driver's license. Okay.
We have some stats. Do you want to go over some stats, or do you want to jump into first how to increase the income and then look at kind of America as a statistic?
I like stats because it helps people realize where are they at.
Okay.
So give me a couple that are strong.
Well, here, how about just the average personal income in the U.S. is $63,214. $63,214 is the average personal income in the U.S. The average U.S. household income is $87,864. If I broke down the Americans by income by percentage, the largest percentage, 16.5% of Americans generate $50,000 to $75,000 a year. That's their income. Okay. And that ranges, of course, 9.5% generate under 15,000, 10.3% generate over 200,000 when it comes to our average income.
Okay.
And we had this little conversation because I was a little surprised. I said, does anybody want to figure out or take a guess at the average American income by state and figure out which state was the highest? Now, I kind of guessed right before I even looked. You guys then argued with me it wasn't a state, right? Because I said the District of Columbia because I just figured it's all the politicians who are making all that money who are living out there. At $134,879 is the average income in D.C., with the median being $87,534. Now, we're recording here in the beautiful state of Washington. Just to pick a state, it is the average income is $106,549, median income being $80,500. It was really interesting to see some of the states that ranked really high, some of the states that ranked really low as to what income was across the United States of America.
I found it interesting that Maine was the number 2 highest income. Or was that Massachusetts?
Massachusetts.
Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense. Some of the lowest were, I got to check my geography, Oklahoma, Louisiana,
Yeah.
Arkansas,
Wisconsin,
New Mexico.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that some of the states that are high and some of the states that are low, actually how they border each other even.
Yeah.
Right? You would almost think that states that were close would be close in income, but we find some situations where you've got the four corners there, and we got number 46 and number 50, but we also have number 9 and number 13 all intersecting at the four corners of the United States.
By the way, I think, what was the number, Chad? You gave 63,214 was the average personal income.
Yes.
That's dramatically higher, and it tends to be when we do, median versus average. The averages tend to be higher, but the median personal household income in 2021 was 37,522. So half of people in the United States make an income less than 37,522. It's those real high income earners, right, that pull that average up to the average at 63,000. But 50% of people are making less than $37,500 a year.
Wow.
Let's just believe for a second that we all would like to make a little bit more money next year than we did this year. We went out there and we brainstormed a variety of ways. You're going to fill this out in your workbook, by the way, of ways to increase your income. Let's walk through some of these.
Okay.
Number one, if you have a job, ask, negotiate, request, or demand a raise.
Sounds pretty logical.
Go in with an intent to justify the increased salary that you want to make, not with a, I'm going to quit or I need to make more, with a, this is what I've done to earn more.
Yep.
And this is what I will continue to do to help your company be better.
Right.
And outperform everybody else in the department.
And for those of you who don't listen to the Win, Make, Give podcast regularly, this is one of those reasons you should. Right? Because we have a whole episode back there, Ben, where you went through how to have that conversation. We went through that whole scenario where you were like, look, I can cut this much money and save the company this much. And if I could save you $10,000 a year, isn't it fair that you raise my income $5,000 a year and then we both are making $5,000 a year more, for example? You took us through a whole conversation on a great way to ask for a raise properly, not just walk in and say, pay me more or I quit. They might call your bluff.
It cost me a lot of money making that episode. Okay, another one. If you work at a company that has benefits, figure out how those benefits could help you increase your wealth and your income. For instance, if your company has a 401k match, find a way to take advantage of it, because that is literally them giving you more money, which increases your wealth.
Yes.
If your company has an employee stock purchase plan that's at a discount or has a match, that's literally them giving you wealth or opportunities.
Yes.
If your company has benefits like health insurance, you should look and see, is the health insurance for you and your spouse, partner, kids better for you or for your spouse or partner's company?
Right.
And you might look and say, one of those is better to double down on, because at the end of the day, you might actually end up with more take-home money.
Okay.
Some companies provide benefits like life insurance or profit share or revenue share.
Mm-hmm.
They have programs where they'll reward you for finding new customers.
Or new employees.
Yeah. There are ways to make more money in your role. Make sure you take the time to talk to your boss or your owner or your company to explore all of those options. Don't show up entitled. Show up with a willingness to be a part of the solution, and I promise you, good companies will reward you.
Okay.
Next.
What's another way?
Make investments that pay monthly. So let's say that you were going to save $1,000 a year.
Okay.
And you needed to make more income. What if you made that $1,000 go into stocks that pay dividends?
Okay.
Then you would get that extra $100 a year to increase your income.
Okay.
Make investments that pay you back regularly or monthly. Next one, Bob, is we can rent things out. when we looked into the gig economy, what sort of things did we figure out that we could rent out?
So your car.
Using what sort of a
Turo is the name of one of the
Yep.
common apps out there that you can go on and put your car up when you're not using it. There's when we were doing this before, there's like you can rent your hardware or your stuff you have, right? You can rent your skis or you can rent
Your lawnmower.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's a variety of different ways or sites to do that sort of thing on Electro Rent or Ruble or rentmyequipment.com, and there's those kind of things. So a lot of stuff you might just have out in your garage are things that you just put it up there, right? Like you use that stuff once a year, right? Or 3 times a year, but somebody else could rent those things in the interim.
Just think like some of the big box stores that are out there, the hardware stores, they're renting. Okay, you don't want to come buy a table saw?
Yeah.
We'll rent you the table saw for a day at this much money because they've got the table saw anyway. They're renting things out. And if it's working for them, why can't it work for us?
I mean, I think the most common one is probably Airbnb, right? Or kind of started this whole phase or fad of being able to do this, rent out aspects of assets that we're not, fully engaged with.
I have lots of friends that every time they take a week or 2-week vacation, they plan it in advance and they rent their home out during that 2-week, 1-week weekend time.
Yep.
Or they might even take their vacations when there's a big, gigantic event in town.
Sure.
Like in Austin, it might be Austin City Limits.
Well,
or a
I have lot of
NASCAR
friends
race or something
in
like
Augusta who will go out of town during the Masters. They can make their yearly mortgage over the week of the Masters.
Perfect example. So you can actually rent your house out on Airbnb, VRBO, that kind of thing.
Yep.
But also for a lot of my adult life, I had a 3 or 4 bedroom home, but I only slept in 1 bedroom. So I just rented out rooms in my house, and I just became okay with it.
I rented
The first
one
time
of those. I rented one of those rooms.
The first time I ever visited your house, you had 3 roommates at the time back then.
Yeah. It wasn't like I couldn't afford my mortgage on my own, but I didn't need all of the house, and I liked having friends around and people to let the dog out.
Yep.
It was a win.
Yep.
And Chad, you were a decent roommate.
Yes, and it was a very low rent.
It
Just
helped.
had to go to work.
Okay. Next, get a side hustle.
The old side hustle.
What are some examples of side hustles that are relatively easy that could make a big impact in people's lives?
I mean, again, the most obvious one today is something like an Uber, right? Or any of these kind of gig economy type things where you can easily tap into a pool of people that need some kind of a.
We needed lunch today. Somebody brought lunch because of a click, and I'll bet you that person has another job, and this was their side hustle was delivering food.
I mean, there's this whole, I don't know, you almost call it arbitrage economy out there where around like, and I'm exposed to it every day. I collect shoes and hats, and you always talk about the shoes, and we do, but I also collect hats. And today, when a hat drops, somebody buys it, and a little while later, it's on eBay for sale for $20 more than they bought it for. And so there's a whole economy across a lot of goods and services around this kind of flipping concept. So there's definitely a lot of people doing that type of side business today.
This week, I had a friend at my house who did not pay rent, but he stayed, Chris Colgan.
Yep.
And Chris Colgan makes $4,000 or $5,000 a month off of his Instagram reels and videos around the subject of
Shoes.
Yeah. And he has a big business, great business, in Virginia in real estate, but he is passionate about shoes.
He loves shoes, and he built a really big community on Instagram of followers in just like the last year.
Yep.
He earns income from that because brands will actually engage him to post things to his Instagram.
Free products and money paid on a monthly basis. And think about that. He has a full-time job, works all the time, hard worker, just got married, busy personal life, but he finds the time to build a following, just learned it himself, and makes $4,000, $5,000 a month his first year. That's a house payment.
Yeah.
That's retirement funding. Like that. That's a
the
lot
average income for a U.S. person right now about $60,000 a year.
There's plenty of people out there that do the arts crafts. Like, so we buy for everyone, we do birthday parties for our boys, right? And Aaron goes all out for the kids, but we will go buy him a t-shirt for their birthday and it'll say Chase, 6 years old on it or whatever. Somebody on Etsy is making those things, right? And they've got my wife as a forever client now, but those kind of Etsy is a thing where people are selling the wares that they make or the things that they love to do in their hobby time, right?
Yep.
Turning their hobbies into sources of income.
We had a chef come over and teach us how to cook just the other night, made a fancy dinner for our anniversary. She helped us make this fancy dinner ourselves and just a side hustle. She's a chef at a restaurant. She does this on the weekend. She'll run out and do this with people.
I have a good friend, Boyd Brown, I went to high school with. He's become Instagram, and he does TikTok too, but he's a chef, and he's same thing as Chris. He's built this really fast in like a year, this following, just making these TikTok and Instagram videos of like the food that he makes. And now he's got same thing. He's got people, asking him to do clips of their stuff or use their ingredient in his deal. Same thing. It's a little side business. He's also, by the way, maybe moved into one of these next categories, which is byproducts. So Boyd went out and created a recipe book, right? It's just a little ebook, and it's $3.99 a month or whatever, or $3.99 to download the thing on. But it's again in a part of his side hustle. He created a byproduct out of it. Even
There's applications like Rover where you can go and walk people's dogs or dog sit. Right? There's lots of opportunities. I got a buddy that gets like free motorcycles from people's houses and fixes them and then sells them for $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 because he loves doing that. Like, how do you turn your hobby or your exercise of walking the dog or whatever, right?
Yep.
Turn it in some way to make money as a side business.
It's a great point.
Number next.
Number next.
Number next. If you're good at what you do and there's more people than you in the world that do it, people are willing to pay you to teach them, train them, or coach them. Everybody in this room has made money at some point in their lives, either teaching, training, or coaching.
Yes.
And honestly, I would tell you that the three of us, that's probably what we do with the vast majority of our time anyway, is we learned skill sets, leadership, hiring, business, online marketing, real estate, coaching, whatever, health, Chad,
Yep.
right? And we help people become better, and people are willing to pay for it. True?
yeah, absolutely true.
Should we reevaluate season 4 of the podcast? Should we be turning this into increase our income opportunity? Audience, what do you think? Would you pay for the Win Make Give podcast?
No, ladies
All
and
right.
gentlemen,
Ben will never
we
allow
give
it
money.
to happen.
We don't make money from this podcast.
There you go.
Okay. Teach, train, coach.
Yeah. Bob teased this next one on your list.
Byproducts?
Yes.
Yeah, one of my definitely favorite books was a book called Rework.
That's what it's called. I asked somebody, I couldn't think of the name of it.
And in Rework, one of the chapters was selling your byproducts.
Right.
And they tell the story of the sawmill
Yep.
who saws lumber. And when you saw lumber, you create
Sawdust.
And they were able to realize that there was a massive profit available in the sawdust that was being created if they captured it and turned it into some other product, or sold it as raw material.
Yeah.
You're already cutting the
IKEA
logs.
is.
Keep the sawdust.
Yeah. And that's IKEA. I mean, that's what we're buying from IKEA. They just take the sawdust, press it hard together, really, really hard, and it becomes really heavy fake wood.
That's funny. Never thought of
It's
that.
real wood. What do you mean?
I guess it's real wood. It's just-
sawdust.
That's what it is, right? I mean, that's what IKEA is doing. They're buying that
You ever
sawdust.
go
and
have
turning
one
it
of them
into another product.
logs that like do a quick starter in the fire? Those quick starter fire logs, same thing. Pressed.
That's all it is,
Sawdust,
right? So there are a lot of byproducts. I mean, that we can come up with. Like Bob said, you got a chef. Great, you probably have a lot of your own recipes, or maybe you have a product that you use that you've invented your own whisk or something like that works better for us lefties. Okay, and now you can turn that and you can sell that because it's something that you're already creating that's leftover stuff.
I saw a Mexican restaurant that was selling their excess grease to guys that were turning it into biofuel. Like, there's all these different things that happen.
Yeah,
And probably the company you work at, they don't care about it.
they're throwing something away.
Something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. All right,
Next.
Ben. What else?
Sell things. You need to make income. What do you have in your life right now that you could sell that would help reduce your debt or generate some income? Or what could you go out there and buy for cheap and sell for more? I'm an old car guy, and my buddy Jerry and I, we always look at cars that are on Facebook or Craigslist,
Yep.
right? And we look at it and we say, well, they're asking $8,000 for that. If we fixed it up for $2,000, do we think we could sell it for 20 or 25 or 30? And a lot of times, you actually can.
Can I give you some advice though?
Sure.
Don't buy the 1955 Mustang if you see it.
Yeah, it turns out that is not a good deal.
That is not.
I mean,
legit.
Gary Vaynerchuk has this whole. He's got this whole culture and this whole like of going to garage sales, right? And he still to this day, Gary Vaynerchuk goes to garage sales and he finds stuff. And you can go on eBay.
Yep.
And you can pull up products on eBay and you can actually see what they've sold for. Not what they're listed for, because somebody might, but you can see what they've sold for. And so he's constantly talking about going out to thrift stores or garage sales and finding things that somebody threw away or didn't need or didn't want. And the thrift store's got it for $3. And oh my gosh, on eBay, you could sell it for $25 right now.
Well, we were talking about it even on our drive today, Bob, before we got here to the studio, that my dad used to buy Levi's when they were on sale and all that kind of stuff. And he would put them on eBay because people overseas that couldn't get Levi's would buy them for 5, 6, 7 times the price. So sometimes selling things that you just have sitting around the house, sometimes maybe you got to go buy something to sell it because the profit's there waiting to be made.
Anybody want a slightly but barely used Peloton?
I mean, we did this, we just came through. I have a 5 and a 6-year-old. We came through all their baby stage. They're all done and out of it. We got way more money for their crib than I ever would have thought that we would got. By the way,
What if you have another one?
no, we were Dr. Snips. If anybody needs a referral in Seattle, Washington, top notch. There's no more babies at our house.
Why is he called Dr. Snips?
He gives you a Swiss Army knife when you're done
with like scissors on there?
Well, Swiss Army knife. They
Sure,
have the
got it.
scissors.
Yeah.
But what's funny is the lady came over to buy the crib, and so we sold her the dresser. She didn't come over to buy the dresser, but when she was there, we were like, hey, and then we also sold her the stroller.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, OfferUp, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace.
Yep.
Right?
Lots of places you could sell things if you really need some income or to release some debt for something you still have, maybe you're paying for.
What about starting a second career? And, a great example in our world is get your real estate license.
Okay.
In fact, if any of you listening want to get your real estate license, reach out to us and we'll find a way to help you get into real estate school.
Wherever you are in the country.
Wherever you are in the U.S.,
Yep.
Canada, wherever, we'll help you do that. winmakegive.com. Just reach out or go to our Facebook group. Next one, if you want to increase your income,
Yep.
we're going to have a whole section in the Wealth series on reducing your taxes. But you should understand that there are potential tax benefits for doing certain things. And if you do those things, you'll have extra income to invest. And I don't want to dive into it because we're going to spend an entire session on reducing the amount of money you pay in taxes.
That'll be a fun one.
But it's
Legally.
that's an increase in your income, right? If I had $100 and 20 of it went to taxes yesterday, and now I've got 110 go to, I've increased my income.
What was the average income in the United States?
$63,000
Okay.
approximately.
So let's say roughly they pay 20% taxes.
Sure.
That is $12,000 a year that they give in taxes. That if they could find a way to cut that in half or cut it to zero or cut it down by 25%, they would pay down their debt.
Yep.
Or they would have that much more to invest or to buy a house or to fund their retirement. It could really add up to a massive amount.
Yeah. So it's not increasing your income as in how much money is coming in on a regular basis like some of these other things might be, yet it's increasing my income because I'm now keeping more of the money that's coming in. So therefore, I'm increasing the income because I hold on to more of it.
What we're trying to say is that the amount of money you make in some ways, and I don't want to put everybody in this box because I know there's hard situations and hard times.
Yep.
But for a lot of you, it's a choice. You can work more hours, you can get overtime, you can get a second job, you can quit your job and find a better job. Today, Twitter is hiring. You can do these suggestions that we gave you. I had a friend that contributed to Teachers Paying Teachers, where they make materials for the teachers to do with their students, and they get paid $2 or $3 or $1 for every time they do that. There's lots of ways to do it. I can't even add up, and I'm a busy guy and I work a lot, the amount of time that I have wasted on Netflix or naps or doing
Clash of Clans or whatever.
Clash
it's
of
called.
Clans, hypothetically, right? Doing things
Yep.
that if I was in a financial situation, I actually could have shifted that and changed my financial trajectory.
Yep.
Now, as you go back to our workbook, I want you to think about the questions that we put in there. You're looking for a raise, ask yourself, what can you do to reduce your company's expenses? If you own your business and you need a raise right now, cut your expenses so that you net more income. What could you do to increase the productivity of yourself or your employees at your company? Can you find any new sources of revenue like byproducts? Is there a new role where you would be more valuable or you could increase your hourly rate? Does your company have profit share opportunities or stock programs or other benefits that could, at the end of the day, help you and your family? What investments could you be making on a monthly basis that could start making passive income, investment income, or increase your normal income? Bob, what can we rent out? Or what could you consider renting out? What kind of a side business or second career could we start? What could we coach, teach, or train? What are some things that we could sell that we no longer need or that have gone up in value and other people will value it more than we do? What are some tax benefits that you could research by reading books like Win-Win Wealth Strategies by Tom Wheelwright or his other book, Tax-Free Wealth? Understand that time is money. I want you to increase it. Go back. This is in your workbook. Go back to the reality check section and take the annual income and divide it by the number of hours that you worked last year. That is your new hourly rate. And what I want you to do on a monthly basis and annual basis, I want you to track that and see if it's increasing. It's not important just to make more money, because at some point you're going to run out of hours in the day. What I really want you to do is increase your hourly rate. That excess income, when you fill out the workbook, you're going to take your annual income, subtract your expenses. What's that is going to give you is the amount of money that you have left over to invest. And if that isn't enough, I want you to fill out the spot where it says, how much extra do I need to make so that I can? And then answer the question, where is that money going to come from? This is a thought-provoking exercise, and if you do the work, you will get the benefit. The rest of the wealth series is contingent on you doing the reality check, you understanding the different sources of income, going through all the exercises that we've done, because it all builds on top of each other. Lastly, let's just reiterate what we said in the beginning. You can't save your way out of a recession, Chad. You must increase your income. You must earn your way out of a recession. To get ready for some of our next sessions, start digging out your tax returns, your business returns. That will prepare you for future sections of the Wealth Series.
Okay, not only that, you already mentioned, Ben, in a previous episode, they should have their bank statements. They should have their credit card statements. They should be having their retirement account statements, all your mortgage statement. Start gathering all of these things. We are using them as we go, and we're going to keep using, or we're going to use some of the forms you haven't used yet, as we keep taking you through Wealth Series 2.0. Make sure that you are registered at winmakegive.com/wealth so that you're eligible to win. Now, if you're taking this and we've finished the live version of it, you should still take it anyway, because the value in the course is there and the win is there for you when you cross the finish line of the Win, Make, Give series. Bring someone along to the next episode. And on behalf of Ben, Bob, and Dave, who's sitting over there quietly in the corner this whole time, as always, do good.